on, I'd like to go ahead and introduce our sustainability intern this summer, Julia Deschamps. Julia, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Hello everyone, my name is Julia Deschamps. I'm an intern with Adrian for the summer, and currently we're doing some projects on waste sorting, educational videos, CAPSAP training, and doing business presentations.
Welcome.
Welcome.
lose a lot of like papers and garbage and stuff. Go look at it. It's household garbage.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen. Here's the video.
And that's one we're working on Ecology with. They're
Yeah.
actually, well,
They're trying.
they're trying.
Yeah.
They need to get a little
You gotta love
ebbs and
that.
flows. Yeah, with them. So
I mean, is it still like a $2,000 fine when you, and has anybody ever been charged? I mean,
illegal dumping's hard to catch and
Yeah, I
then
know.
to prosecute. You really have to
maybe a
catch someone in the
camera.
act.
Right there. No
I know
dumping.
exactly where to place
right by
one.
the,
There's a
right by
couple.
the
Yeah.
freeway off ramp on Sierra Point.
Yeah, the freeway off ramp on
There's
Sierra
a couch
Point.
there right now.
Yeah.
Is there?
Yep.
I'll see if that's on our tracking right now. It should be. We'll cover that. Our strategies for dealing with that too.
I know it's,
So there's a few things that we've put into our trash haul franchise agreement to help us manage this trash. So the three big ones are roadway litter cleanups. We have Ecology and South San Francisco Scavenger doing roadway cleanups once a month or twice a month, depending on the frequency needed and location. They're doing a legal dumping cleanup for us, where if it's something too big for us to manage with one person, we can put a cone on it, call it in, and they'll come out and pick it up in a day. And trash container management. They're both managing trash containers for us, where if they spot someone with a overflowing can, they have a procedure that we'll get into in the slides to notify that person and to eventually be able to put a charge on that account. So the first one is roadway litter cleanup. And we have Ecology does the area around Beatty and Alana and Tunnel on the right-hand side. They do this weekly. Though the area on Beatty and Alana and part of Tunnel they do weekly. And then Bayshore Boulevard is done once a month, the entire length. And the tail end on the south side is done twice a month. We have South San Francisco Scavenger doing it once, and then city staff does it a second time. And then Tunnel and Sierra Point Parkway, Lagoon and Sierra Point Parkway. Sierra Point Parkway is done twice a month, and Lagoon is done once a month.
I noticed that the area where the freeway off ramp is not done.
It's not our property. It goes into, there's a line kind of a little further back where it turns into Caltrans.
Okay.
So we do some pickup there, and we will pick up illegal dumping there. But as far as roadway cleanups go, they just go to the stop sign.
and then do you know their policy and procedure for cleaning up?
As
Caltrans?
far, how do they do it?
When? How?
When they do it first of the month.
Okay.
Caltrans does?
No, not Caltrans.
Oh, I meant Caltrans.
Okay,
was
I don't know
wondering.
theirs.
So you don't know?
Yeah, no. They were brought into this municipal regional permit later than us. We've been doing it for years now. But their requirement for the trash just started really ramping up about 2 years ago.
Okay.
So they're really just starting on this whole thing. So
Is there a phone number we can call them to let them know? I mean, is there any communications that we have with them?
They have a service request system online.
Oh,
I
okay.
know that Bob submitted one for the area by Harney Way, the north along the shoreline, in the Caltrans right away.
Good.
We've been kind of focused on that.
Great.
these are some before pictures. This is Beatty and Alana before they started doing weekly cleanups. These are some from about 2013. This is Lagoon near Sierra Point Parkway, and this is pre-cleanup. And then these are our illegal dumping tracking.
Illegal dumping. Oh.
Illegal dumping. These are places where someone's put something large enough to be picked up and tracked.
And that's the yellow or the red?
Both. The yellow was picked up by city staff, and the red was picked up by trash hauler. In this case, almost all of them were done in South San Francisco Scavenger's jurisdiction. And you can see there are a few hotspots that come out. Main Street, Guadalupe Parkway, and Sierra Point Parkway. Yeah.
What are the size of the items that are picked up?
It varies.
Couches, mattresses?
Couches, mattresses, and that one in the video clip, there's a refrigerator and like a mattress. It really varies. We've had things as large as an entire roofing truck dumped.
My goodness.
And we have things as small as a mini fridge, or so that was one of the most recent ones. It's just something small. I actually have a picture. There it is.
Okay.
One mini fridge.
I saw an easy bake oven once.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
It really just, there's no rhyme or reason. It feels like
Yeah.
if someone needs to get rid of something,
They just
and I don't think
They don't want to pay for the dump price. At least they get it close to the dump.
Yeah,
Just kidding.
yeah.
Are there any hot spots that are large enough that they might warrant putting a camera in? Get license plate numbers?
Potentially. Main Street seems to be our number one hotspot.
Main
Does it-
Street,
Main Street,
can
across
we
from
see the map
Industrial Way.
again?
Oh,
Oops,
No.
one time.
Wait.
That-
Are we
Okay.
both doing it?
What?
Okay.
How about someone on that end do it, because it's double jumping for me.
I know. Good. That
All
way.
right. Stop.
I'll
On the
move.
very top of the screen, there's that cluster of red,
Yeah.
and it's out there near the channel, kind of on your way to Daly City, across from,
oh, it's the lead into it.
is it a pointer?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go, right up here. Main Street.
Oh, okay.
The visitation,
Yeah.
no, yeah, no,
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
That's what
yeah.
you're saying. Yeah.
Some of that is wind deposited. That's why I think, oh, these are big things.
These
Yeah,
are
those are
larger items.
big, yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's
Okay, that
totally
couch
legitimate.
moved down the highway.
Oh.
I guess
Refrigerator,
not.
right.
Yeah, it's where we get couches and mattresses and garbage bags full.
Uh-huh.
Um,
And then,
It's a thought. I mean, wondering what the cost would be to have the camera there. I mean,
Well, I actually, this presentation
if
was
we
actually
get money back from people, $2,000 for dumping, it could be worth our time.
yeah. This presentation I actually put together for a work group I presented at, along with San Mateo County and Daly City. San Mateo County does have a camera program. It is not cheap for some of the stuff that they've done. I believe 7 cameras was nearly $100,000.
Oh,
For the cameras, the license
Ouch.
plate reading programs, and all the software, yeah, that's about what their cost was.
can't we just put up signs that say we have cameras?
I mean, you could.
Because,
I
you
mean,
know,
why not?
it's
Yeah.
kind of weird because
They're
like
not watching this.
a lot of the people who are illegally dumping household goods, you're not going to get $2,000 out of them. They don't have that money, or they would have paid to dump it. You know, a lot of them.
Yeah.
So at least that we could have some deterrent by, you know,
Or just close Main Street. It doesn't really go anywhere.
It's just a dumping ground.
Yeah.
no, it does. It goes from Bay Shore to that neighborhood.
That little.
Well, that's South San Fran. No, that's Daly City, right?
No, I mean it goes to Midway Village.
Midway, is that in Brisbane?
No,
No.
It ends towards the end of the road. There's city limit.
right.
Yeah.
But that's the lead into it from
Okay.
Old Bay Shore.
Got it.
Otherwise, you have to go up Geneva and go through the hood.
You have to go around
Ah,
the
The
PG
hood.
yard
Okay.
to get in.
So they do use that as a thoroughfare.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, the level of dumping we're getting there is between once to twice a week of maybe 1 item, 2 items.
Keeps your guys busy.
How? What's the time frame on that map?
That was about a year.
A year. Okay.
Maybe I think it was 9 months or a year.
Okay.
Okay. And are you monitoring what goes on Guadalupe, or do you stop when it gets to the park?
We go as far as going up or down. You mean
Up Guadalupe to where?
Bruno
to the
Park.
city limits to past Carter, and
Okay,
we
so
will.
like where the 10 is?
Carter is right about here,
Yeah.
but then we have the tank sites. So that's
Okay.
Guadalupe Tank, where number 10 is. Someone dumped in our driveway.
Okay.
The tank site. So we will go all the way to the tank site, man.
Okay.
Tank site driveway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Where, number 5 and 30, that little cluster, that is,
This is right along South Hill Drive.
oh, okay.
Oh,
okay,
here.
And
Yes.
Guadalupe,
And
you know,
that's-
the Guadalupe Trail. And this is a notorious dumping area for small trash and big trash. This is part of the area that Lori Works.
That's
Maybe
over-
that's where we
over
put
near the
our
bakery, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
$100,000 for forget it.
the bakery, the electronics, I can't remember their name off the top of my head right now. Lima Electronics and Byright are actually responsible for that area, cleaning up that area. They need reminding
Yes.
regularly, but they are the ones, when you remind them, they will go out and clean all those areas.
Yeah, because that stuff runs downstream.
Another thing we've been doing is leveraging the other departments. So our utility department is doing station checks at all of our water and sewer stations 7 days a week. So to limit the amount of time other departments are spending going out and looking for trash dumped on the roadway, we're using their miles already driven to report back to us what they're seeing in the field. So if they'll find illegal dumping, because they drive all the way up Guadalupe and back, they drive out to Sierra Point Parkway, they drive a good portion of Bayshore. So those areas that we don't have to cover with a second vehicle. They'll report back, and then they can mark it and get it called in and dumped. But we also have one of the buildings and grounds crew members. He'll go out and get the rest. He'll go out and do Main Street, Tunnel Avenue, South Hill, Bayshore end to end. Right now we have him going about 2 to 3 times a week. That seems to be sufficient. So we're nothing sitting for more than a day. So, or 2, depending on the pickup time. And then trash container management. Recology
Keep
and
saying stop.
yeah, Ecology and South San Francisco Scavenger are managing our notifications of people who have overflowing trash cans. Here's a couple. These are. You recognize it?
Actually, no, but it looks like one that I've seen.
Oh, yeah, I know where both these are. So this is the notice that they put on trash cans if they find one that's overflowing or open or. So it gives a list of fees, and it takes a few notifications before fees are involved, but they will actively pursue overflowing trash cans for us, and then by the third notice, they'll assess a fee for management, a $30 fee, and it does scale based on the size of the can, and then they'll notify us. And then we also, I didn't put it in here, but we also, once a year, we usually ask them for a report of how many they've done. Then I want to just bring some slides and some things that have worked for us. And so this was Fisherman's Park a few years ago. And this is what we're constantly up against, trying to keep that place clean. This is what we tried. With South Central Scavenger, they provided us a couple of larger dumpsters with some new lids. They don't have these dumpsters around, but they'll make them up on request. So these are locked dumpsters, but they have 2 open slots in each one for recycling, one for trash. And this worked wonders out there at Fisherman's Park. I don't know if you guys kind of noticed when you drive by now. It's pretty darn clean compared to this. And they've taken it upon themselves to clean a lot of it. You can kind of see the broom and dustpan. They put that out there. So they're the ones who actually kind of taken ownership of that. And
Good.
yeah. Another thing that we've been trying to do on areas where there's just no way to really monitor it well. This is what the large turnout on Guadalupe. And this is a before for this same 2013 era. And you can see up on top, there's a couple of dumped trash bags. I think it's part of a couch. And then just litter down through here. We've taken to fencing it off to just limit access. It's not the most attractive solution, but in an area that will probably never really be developed, it works. I mean, we're not getting dumping there anymore. We're not getting the trash like we were. And then these areas are also cleaned once a month just to make sure that anything that does get there is picked up. And then this is the curve on Bayshore southbound.
Was that fence put there specifically for trash management?
The one on Bayshore?
Yeah,
It was one of the main reasons, yes.
okay. I've always wondered about that.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, it's just a huge area for people to pull over in the dark. You know, and just, we were getting a lot of illegal dumping there. We get a lot of truck drivers that would just stop there because it was easy for them, so. And pretty much where there's vehicles, when there's people, there's trash, so. And then this is tunnel. And this is something the property owner is actually voluntarily kind of put out these devices, these blocks to kind of limit access. And they've helped a lot. We're not getting as many dump trucks to pull over, and they're not done yet. They're been, to my understanding, they're gonna run it all the way to the intersection at Lagoon and Tunnel.
Those are challenging because I think that they, while they impede the trash dumping,
Yeah.
I don't think that they're safe, and it doesn't give anybody a place to ditch off the road if they have to.
Yeah.
And if those had been there when I had my head-on collision on Tunnel Avenue back in 1980, I would have been killed. But as it was, I got all the way off of my side of the road. I still got hit dead center head-on. But if those had been there,
You wouldn't have, you
I would have had nowhere to go, and I would have been killed. I probably almost was anyway, but, you know. So I think that they're dangerous. It's unfortunate that we have to do that. There's nowhere to safely pull over if you need to. And I think that's a hard thing. So I'm not a big fan of those at all.
Okay.
For safety reasons.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people still dump.
They do, not in the level they were,
Yeah.
but
They're dumping it somewhere else.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole problem with managing illegal dumping is you're just gonna move the illegal dumper to somewhere else.
Yeah.
And at best, we kind of right now have them contained to Main Street. It'd be nice to push them off Main Street next, and that's our goal. But then they're just gonna go somewhere else. They're gonna go into San Francisco or Daly City, you know?
Yeah.
So. And that was the last of my presentation. And then we're gonna talk about,
Yeah, so we had Keegan come because we've been talking about trash over a number of different meetings, and we talked about kind of an adopt a spot program a little bit without getting specific. We'd batted around some ideas, so with Keegan, we wanted him to talk about what the city is doing and what they see as some of the worst areas, but then we wanted to, with that, think about areas that might be reasonable for people to adopt. It's somewhere that I go normally and I see trash there, and I'd like to get it picked up. So we came up with this list, staff came up with this list, and we thought we'd talk about it. So a lot of these areas have trash capture devices, and eventually when water flows, when it rains, that trash will get into that trash capture device. But there's still an aesthetic problem when that trash is not moved into the trash capture device. And there's not resources for the city to be going out and cleaning these up all the time. So if there are particular areas of interest to the public, we were hoping that we would get an adopt a spot program where somebody would say, I'll go and have a picker and I'll pick up the trash when I see it in this area. So we wanted to talk tonight about these areas and the committee's thoughts on that, and try to maybe move forward with a concept for a program like that. And also, we've jumped to this, but if you have any other questions for Keegan, please.
So
Answer.
one question with this adopt the spot, so instead of so they're gonna go out and actually say, I'm gonna adopt this, because I walk by it all the time and I'm gonna keep it clean, instead of, I'm gonna have a little sign that says, I've donated money to have this cleaned by us.
Yeah, I think our idea was that person, it's like adopt a drain. Like,
Okay.
I've adopted Lower Bicentennial Walkway, and once or twice a month I'm gonna walk it and pick up the trash. And
There's a couple things. I notice, like by the Silver Spot Nursery School and the pool, there's no garbage can along there for quite a ways. And that's a problem because I see garbage along there all the time, and dog do bags and things like that.
That is actually something that we have discussed. So Julia and I have been trying to update some of our other city facilities with recycling and compost containers. And when we were up at the pool, we discussed adding a trash can in front of the pool outside. So we'll be working on that when the new cans get delivered.
Yeah, and I
Shuffling a few
think
things around.
if we had also periodic trash cans along the Guadalupe Trail and other trash cans in areas that are trash hotspots, it might cut down on the amount of people just dumping or dropping their things or whatever. And the other thing that I saw in Emeryville that was very impressive was they had a little, like, you know how we have the dog poop bags on those stands? Well, they had these stands with garbage collection bags.
Huh.
And it had like a little sign saying, you know, if you want to do some beach cleanup, here's some garbage collection bags. It had a little form for filling out what you picked up if you want to fill that out. And then you deposit the bag back at that garbage. It's next to a garbage can, and so there's a bag in there that someone can just take a trash bag and go and pick up the garbage and put it in there. So if you say like you're going to walk up Quarry Road, you see that, and you would take a trash bag with you, and then when you came back, you would deposit it. So you'd pick up trash kind of along the way, and there's a nice convenient bag. You didn't have to remember to bring it like you bring your grocery bags. Yeah, at the microphone, Lori.
Partly because of the wind problem and partly because of the corvid problem. If you don't know what corvids are, they're ravens and crows and jays. A lot of the trash cans on the Crocker Trail are scavenged by the corvids. And if the wind isn't blowing the stuff out, the lids are all missing, by the way, except for I think one can. If the wind isn't blowing the stuff out, the corvids are taking it out. And then especially if there's garbage, they'll get into the garbage and they'll leave the trash. They'll eat whatever the food is. There's one can in particular that I'm pretty sure is corvids rating because it's in the same place. It's the same can every time. So one of my thoughts was if you're going to spend money on cans is to get the bear-proof cans, the kind that you have to put your hand in to activate the opening. And so that would cut down on wind litter, and it would also cut down on the corvid litter, and it would also, you wouldn't be losing the lids because they're attached.
And would it? And maybe raccoons?
Yeah, raccoons can't get in them. No, only humans can get in them. You got to have a hand, and you got to be able to lift the lid. So you put your hand in the hidden thing where the handle is, and then you lift the lid. And coyotes can't get in them. Animals can't get in them.
Well,
and I have some pictures, but of course I can't show them to you, but they're on my phone.
Oh, okay.
So, and I have a phone number for the makers of the cans.
Maybe you could text the picture to Keegan. Okay. Or to
Karen or
yeah,
Adrian.
We're actually using those cans on a project. We're Castaños Canyon. We'll be getting a pair of those recycle and trash.
Oh.
So those are getting phased in. Yeah.
Awesome.
well, that would be great because, and then having the little kiosk with like little garbage bags available to pick up garbage, I think would really, really help in areas like around the school and where people walk. There's a lot of dog walkers.
What are they made of, Michelle? Did you look at them in Emeryville, what they were made of?
No, but it'd be good if we got something that was compostable.
Biodegradable or
But the stuff they're picking up's not compostable anyway. You know, it's, but at least it's not all over the place.
Right.
And that's an interesting idea. It's a little bit different than our adopt a spot idea, and we were thinking that people might want a picker, because if you're just on a walk, you may not want to pick up trash, you may not have a glove. I don't know how people feel about that. I'd be interested to hear what you guys think.
It might be interesting to have a dispenser that has a glove too, or the bag comes out with a glove in it. I don't know. You know, I mean,
Now people, you guys tell me, would you pick up trash with your bare hands, or do you think people want a picker?
they would want
They
a
would
glove.
use a picker
Plain.
or a glove, yeah.
What would a picker look like? I mean, what is that? Like one of those?
Got a handle and
The only thing is, I don't think they last, but I think the glove idea, like when you pull it out, there's actually a glove in there. Because I don't know if they're going to be picking from a tree.
yeah, it
No.
takes a while to learn how to use a picker efficiently, and
The biggest thing about the pickers is that
Oh,
You don't wanna put them out there, cause people will take them.
yeah. That's why I
Yeah.
think glove might be a better idea.
Whereas a rubber glove, you know, just like the kind that, you know, you see them all the time.
You'd use them for, when we cook, chef and
Yeah.
chefs. and-
Yeah, sometimes I go out and pick up litter around town, and I usually just take 2 bags, one to use as a glove and one to put the trash in.
Yeah.
I'm, a little concerned about putting disposable gloves out there.
know.
I mean, it may be, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. It could easily be the lesser of evils, but of multiple, pick your multiple choice evil. But I did just want to say that I am a little concerned about putting, because, people don't always just use them for picking up trash. Sometimes, we've had problems with people taking the dog bags and hoarding them. And I think that the same thing could happen with these gloves and the litter bags, and then it's just we're like almost creating garbage to solve the garbage problem, and I'm just a little
Well, if they
hesitant.
take them, I don't
put
think
out
they're going to be throwing them out as garbage. Let's hope not, At least they might be using them for their own personal garbage. But it's not, I like the
Boy,
idea.
and with the poop bags, I don't know, I'm not a dog owner, but even on a 1-to-1 ratio, like one poop bag wasted for every one used, it's kind of worth it. I mean, I don't have a
Gotcha.
dog, but boy, I sure don't like stepping in dog shit.
Yeah. Dog pooping on-
And there used to be a lot more dog poop on the
it's-
ground than there is now in Brisbane.
It's pretty good.
Now we just have to worry about coyote poop.
Yeah.
That's true.
Can't we teach them to use a
What do
little
you, what do you think about the glove idea being,
I think the glove idea is, I don't know if it contributed more litter or not.
Yeah.
But I think that having it, one glove, and they could be those really cheesy ones that
Yeah.
they use in the delis.
Yeah,
that don't
that's what I'm
fit,
saying.
that don't stretch.
Yeah, they just put them on.
Stick your hand in them, and then, having that with the bag, and then you pick the stuff up, and then it all goes in the bag and goes in the trash.
Goes in the trash. I don't know.
I don't know. I think it seems a little weird to be adding more plastic.
I know.
I just put
Yeah.
the trash in my hands. You just wash your hands afterwards.
Yeah, I'm not going to touch my hands.
I usually also don't have bags, so I just put it in my pockets as well. So maybe I just don't care about touching garbage.
I know, my backpack has been full of garbage before, but if,
Also,
It m-
maybe instead of we could also, if we didn't want to add more bags, maybe people could bring their plastic grocery bags to somewhere here, and then we could go.
Or we could do like kind of what Barbara does at her house. She has the little bags for the cat. She always leaves them out if anybody wants. Because I used to use them when I had the cat. So we could have a recycling place instead of adding to new plastic. Use used plastic.
that would be cool.
Well, that's what they do at, like Moy Point and some of the parks, they have the dispensers, but you put your own, bring your empty bags and stick them in there, and then somebody can just
Yeah,
take one and.
that's a good idea.
I like that.
There you go.
Good idea.
I guess now that most places are paper bags, it's maybe not as doable.
Not,
'Cause most places are paper bags now, right? All around the Bay Area, there's not as many
Most.
stores with plastic.
I
nope,
don't know.
in Brisbane, they still use plastic, grocery outlets, they use plastic.
Well, and I think
They
that
use plastic everywhere.
yeah,
But
and I
they're
think
supposed to be reusable bags. They are really tough, and I use.
Right, they're not single-use plastic.
No, I use them like a lot.
I do too. And Barbara, you use like the outside of the paper, right? Is that what bags you have in your?
Yeah, I have a bag spot on my front gate, and those are all newspaper bags that people drop off on my front gate, the newspaper sleeves. So
So we could.
targeted towards picking up pet waste, but they can be used for other things too.
I like the idea of having little boxes that people refill with their grocery bags for picking up garbage, and then having the garbage can there. I like that a lot because that is really a good way to use your bags instead of depositing them at the post office where they really never get recycled.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the waste stream has really changed a lot in that regard.
You could probably just do a pilot program for that. Pick an area
I was
mean,
about to ask, did you imagine this in residential areas versus more remote, but like Crocker Trail, more?
I imagine it on Quarry Road, Crocker Trail, probably the,
Canyon.
I wouldn't not imagine. I mean, I think it could be good wherever people
Yeah.
walk their dogs or wherever people walk a lot.
Yep.
Main Street.
Sure.
I mean, you know,
There's not a lot of garbage on visitation.
no,
I don't
because it
see-
gets picked up. I mean, some of the merchants sweep every day. But, I mean, where do you see the most litter type garbage, Keegan?
Quarry Road, Quaker.
Honestly, the most is probably Bayshore Boulevard. That is probably absolutely the most.
What about in the residential area?
Yeah, I
There's
think
other
we're
areas,
talking-
like you guys said, where there's a lot of people, schools, the pool, the park. Those are all kind of hotspots. The basketball courts, surrounding parking areas around basketball courts. Those are all,
Skate park stays fairly clean, doesn't it?
city staff cleans that daily. Yeah, same with the basketball courts.
Yeah.
But those are, I mean, the city staff takes a day off, you'll notice.
Yeah. Yeah, they're kind of garbage hotspots.
Maybe we can put those big garbage cans in there too. Get the
So, yeah, maybe we could do a pilot and try it
Yeah.
somewhere, but I'm curious if you have any thoughts about this idea, like the voluntary, having bags and.
No, I like it a lot. I definitely want to try that. I think maybe it'd be nice to do someplace very visual. There's lots of traffic. I know I live right next to, or my parents live right next to the Bicentennial Walkway. I think it's a lot of traffic. So it'd be seen a lot. That might be a nice place. We also talked about the alleyways, some of the other alleyways in town that are used frequently. And then maybe expanding it on to Crocker Trail and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yep, it might be nice to put one of those boxes down at the marina along the Bay Trail.
Mhm.
'Cause people walk there all the
Yeah.
time. You don't see as much trash down there because I think people pick it up. But there it is, especially once you get past where the boats are and turn the corner. You know,
The fishing pier.
yeah. And I think you see how much people have responded to the G3 kind of keep it clean thing. And I almost feel like instead of like one person I liked the adopt a spot, but instead of one person adopting a
it's
spot,
like everybody.
everybody's taking responsibility for it.
You could still call it adopt a spot, but it's the
Yeah.
community that's adopting it, not just an individual.
Yeah. And
I think there's room for both.
yeah, I think there's room for both, but I'd love to try it and, see what happens with even the kids going to school and stuff. The other day, I saw the kids having to walk. I don't know if they were being punished or if they were doing it, why they were doing it, but up at Lippman School, they were walking around picking up all the garbage behind the school. That used to just be terrible. The worst source of garbage was Lippman School. And it would blow all over the place. And now it's not as bad as it was, but it's still bad. It's still bad. And I think it'd be a great place to encourage that as well.
So let's start with a couple areas and monitor them and make sure that it doesn't create more trash or that the bags are being taken for other uses and it becomes a problem in some way. And see how that goes. And we can.
The only thing I worry about, I think it's a great idea recycling the used bags, but you may have folks bringing their own garbage and putting it next to the garbage cans, right? So you'd almost need something that, it's not like we wouldn't pick it up, but at least some type of Brisbane logo on it or something,
Well, if they're bringing their own garbage to be picked up, you have to think, where would they be bringing that garbage if they weren't bringing it there?
I know they'd be bringing it,
So
dumping it someplace else.
at that point, I'm
Yeah,
happy to take it,
okay, okay,
Yeah,
That's
okay.
It's insane.
The only thing I can add from my experience is make sure whatever you're putting the plastic bags in is opaque.
opaque. Why?
You can see through.
No, not so you can't see through it because some of those plastic bags are designed to break down in the sun.
Oh.
Oh, so you mean make sure that it's not clear, that it's
Yeah.
Right.
wood boxes or something?
Wood or metal or something so that
Oh, okay.
you don't pull out a bag that's disintegrating.
Yeah. Yeah, the box that's in Emeryville is wood with a little wooden lid that, slanted wooden lid that.
So are we thinking with the Adopt a Spot, what was the incentive? Was there an incentive like they would have their name, or, because you were saying we may still want to?
That's what we'd kind of talked around and not really decided on anything. I think if it was individuals, we wanted to have some kind of recognition, but if it was businesses, that they should be kind of doing that anyways next to their location. And we talked about having an individual sign or having a recognition one time a year, and we hadn't really settled on anything. I guess you missed that meeting. We kind of
I think so.
threw a lot of ideas around but didn't pin anything down.
Okay.
Right.
So, we'll see which, and we're not sure which subcommittee would
Take
do
this one
but
on.
in terms of picking a couple spots and maybe refining something, we'll do that with subcommittee.
Great. Okay. Review vegetation management plan.
And
Brisbane.
Keegan, your feedback on the spots would be really helpful because you have your eye on the garbage.
I have to. At this point, every time I drive anywhere, that's all I look at.
I understand.
So sorry.
Me too.
So,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I'm gonna go through what we have proposed for vegetation management. Yeah, just this one slide. Pointer. So, and get feedback from the committee or approval. So Bob Sage and I, and we corralled Fred Smith, who is former staff for Open Space and Ecology and very familiar with the Brisbane Acres, and the contractor that we've worked with, which is the part of Markeith. They're not called Shelter Belt Builders anymore. They've split off.
Oh, really?
Shelter Belt is doing construction, and he is managing the restoration part.
And what's the name of his new company?
On Point Land Management.
On Point Land Management.
So together we came up with this plan for this year for the budget that we have to manage the acres that we own. So this is his map that he used last year to identify the city-owned Brisbane acres, and we like kind of the relief to show, just give a better picture of it. And we are going to refine this map to attach the information about the properties and designate the areas better. Right now, we're kind of got what's on the east side, what's in the middle, and what's on the west side of town. So we are on the east end, on the Harold Road area, looking at removing broom and fennel on the ridge, and an added activity in all of the areas is to cruise each of the spots for any new weed species like cotoneaster or myoporum or anything else. In the central area, cruise, map, and treat any remaining small populations of invasives in all city-owned parcels. That's from Harold all the way over to the tank areas at Brisbane Central. Special focus on broom, fennel, cotoneaster, and pine retreatment. So we removed pines up on Harold last year. Retreat if any sprouts have come out of that. And on the west, on the Margaret Upper Paul Avenue, cut and treat. We've got some resprouting eucalyptus from the eucalyptus that were removed last year on the new lot that was purchased, lot 79 at the end of the Fire Road. Continue treating French broom in understory areas. Stump treat eucalyptus, acacia, and cotoneaster resprouts. Along, I'm going to say newer social trails that we've noted up there. Eucalyptus sprouts in the power line area and the lower slope of the Paul Avenue, kind of where the parking is. Treat any new populations of heart-to-grass and acacia resprouts. And we might need a little erosion control on the Fire Road, where it was pretty visible, that slope when some of the eucalyptus trees were cut down, and it looks like there could be, not a big slide, but you could
Pretty rocky.
You could use a little protection.
Yeah.
What are you suggesting what are they suggesting for protection?
Well, we were saying erosion control blanket if they can get it to attach on that slope.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
Yeah. It's not growing anything there.
No, it's just, it's rock. Like,
You see a little bit of it breaking away. You got some sandstone, and it's kind of.
yeah.
They said as necessary, so they may not know that there's an easy solution either, but it's a
Okay.
suggestion. So there's also the brush control, and we've been cutting native brush species and prioritized grassland areas throughout the acres over time. So previous sites were along the ridge lines and the water tank areas in the central area, and then we're trying to work over on the ridge above Harold, but we're also going to communicate with San Mateo County, Ramona at Parks, about what areas have high native grassland species richness, and try to clear some brush there. So it's kind of a pilot that's expanded. There's some funding to do a little more than just a pilot and to try to expand into the higher priority areas.
Mm-hmm.
And then they do the permitting for the habitat conservation plan, and they then give us a presentation with what they've done and some detailed pictures and presentation. Upload all weed data into CalFlora database. So that is what they're proposing to do this next season. And this is, the committee just has a role in reviewing that plan, approving it, having comments, any other things they think are a priority that they want to be considered.
So how long does it take for On Point to clean it all up?
They are out, I would say, well, they've given me hours, and I didn't total them up. It's probably like a month or plus or minus.
Okay, so like
plus.
probably 160 man hours, like 8 to 5 or whatever, right? For a
More
month?
than that.
More than that?
Actually, yeah, more than that.
Quite a bit
Okay, a
more.
month, yeah.
Maybe like 300, so maybe 2 months.
Okay.
But they've got a number of, when
2
they go
months,
out, they
okay,
have
yeah.
a few people at the same time, so
Yeah.
maybe that's why it's not.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Spread out
amazing
around
because
time.
when they come and
Yeah.
present,
Mhm.
they show,
These.
they have GPS tracking
Yeah.
on all of their employees.
Oh, they do.
And you can see them going,
It's really cool.
it's
really
just
cool.
amazing when you see how many miles they travel in their, because it's all handwork.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're up there like mountain goats. I mean, I rue the day that Markeith is too old to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm loving that we're doing the brush and expanding that because one of the really big problems that we have on the mountain is the loss of grassland because of the scrub. Because we don't use fire. We don't have fire anymore. We don't use fire on the mountain as a tool, and we suppress any wildland fires as quickly as possible. So there's scrub succession, and the scrub takes over the grasslands, and the grasslands are essential to the survival of the native butterfly species, not just the 3 that are endangered, but many of the other ones and a lot of the other habitat that lives in the grasslands. And San Bruno Mountain has some of the rarest and few remaining California grasses in the world. Most of the California grasslands have been replaced completely by European grasses and other scrub. So it really is this area up in here, where it says water tank, and that whole along that whole ridge line there is just some of the most valuable remnants of the Franciscan habitat that exists. And so I'm just really so glad that we're doing this work and expanding the coyote brush. One of the reasons it also gets a really big hold is not just because of the lack of fire, but nitrogen deposition from pollution really encourages scrub succession beyond what's natural. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah,
I really
sounds
am.
good.
One thing that I would love if they just happen to notice any sightings of, rare plants.
Oh, kind of report on that.
Huh?
To report on that.
Yeah.
That'd be great, because
Well,
they're up there looking.
They're up there, they're tracking around, and certainly they do know them. I know Mark knows them all. I don't know about his staff, but I imagine they do.
Yeah.
So any mapping of any sightings of rare plants while they're up there would, I think, be very beneficial to communicate to the county, because the Ramona's trying to, track all the rare plants, and so that we can preserve some of them, seed bank and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah.
Is this exercise done on an annual basis? Yes, okay.
Yeah, it's really remarkable when you look at their work over time. When Mark comes and presents, he shows historical pictures and then like the progress we've made over the last 5 years, 6 years.
Really cool.
It's just remarkable.
God have totally saved the mountain.
Yeah, and emphasizes that the city is, and through the committee, it's kind of how the committee was formed, was acquiring this open space, that we do more to maintain it than a lot of land managers that have open space like this.
Yeah, we actually, in many ways, we have less acres, of course, but we do a better job than some of the county work. But just because we have less to manage and more funding for it.
Yeah. All right, so great.
I move that we accept. Do we?
Do
need to
we,
move it?
I think this was just a review, right? It's not is that what it was? Do we need to accept it? I mean, is it?
Let's accept it.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so I
Yeah,
move
that-
that we accept the vegetation management plan for this year.
Anybody second that?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. We have accepted that, yay.
Very excited.
Now the subcommittee report, assignments and goals, open space. Do you have anything to report? Salmon, Dykes, and Rogers.
Wait, where are we?
Subcommittee reports, assignments.
Oh,
I don't think we've met. with-
Yeah, we haven't met yet. Can we schedule?
Yeah, that one we haven't actually done anything yet.
All right, you guys
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, I'll set something up. The city attorney's still going forward with the declaration of use limitation
Mm-hmm.
for the acres that we own. That's the first part of that. And the open space plan is what we wanted to talk about with, I think is this, the PCA grant application is a little bit separate.
Yeah, that's separated.
Those kind of do dovetail a little bit in that if we're looking at restoring or acquiring property, that we should think about them kind of together.
Definitely. Now Michelle's on both, so we're good. We're good there. Michelle.
Okay.
Any climate action plan? Does CAP have any updates? Not yet, none? Miss Barbara?
We didn't meet, did we?
We met once with Ross.
Okay.
Remember?
Yeah, that's right. God, that feels like that was prior to our last meeting, but it wasn't.
Right after.
It was right after our last meeting. It feels like it was ages ago. Adrian put together this wonderful comprehensive review of what we have and have not accomplished off of our climate action plan. And I was sort of feeling like a paper environmentalist, like we hadn't, that we'd written this great climate action plan, but hadn't taken action on very much of it. But thanks to Adrian's hard work, she showed me and that we actually did pretty good in terms of doing the things we set out to do. We have a couple of big things still hanging out there because we had some very ambitious goals. And I know staff is working on a grant for that. So for some of those things, so hopefully we'll get some help. And that also incorporated, Ross got a chance to see what we'd been doing, and that really gave me the confidence I needed to accept moving forward on our new climate action plan. So we agreed to do that. We're going to start working on our updating our climate action plan with new things, and that was kind of my personal take on the meeting. But basically, we sat around and we talked about the climate action plan as a group, what we have and have not accomplished, and some of the intentions and stuff. And it was just it was a great, fun meeting.
Excellent.
Yes.
All right. Events.
I do have a report on
Ah,
that.
Bye, Lori. Thank
Bye,
you.
Hi,
Lori.
Lori.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for
Oh, wait,
coming.
Lori, on the events coming up, mark July 14th on your calendar.
Doing another restoration day.
We're gonna go after another canyon of ivy.
Oh,
Yeah, so,
the same?
Oh, no.
No.
It's another one.
so,
Oh, you already did.
Okay.
thank you for coming,
Uh,
Lori.
My knees is one thing, but getting back up again is another.
Well,
Yeah.
we have lots of.
Well, we have a lot
youngsters
of that
and
you could
others
reach
and-
for this time. So on the
you.
Habitat Days, Habitat Restoration Days, July 14th is our next Habitat Restoration Day. It does conflict with the groundbreaking on the Brisbane Library, but so if you're really hot to go see the groundbreaking on the Brisbane Library, you can do that and then come to Pool Ivy. But we're going to do Upper Sierra Point Road Canyon, and it's not on Sierra Point Road, it's on Humboldt. But it is a canyon that if we don't do something, we will completely lose that canyon. It's already in really, really bad shape. So,
That canyon dead ends, right? It starts at Humboldt, and it never makes it all the way up to the, you can't walk all the way up it, can you?
no, you can't walk all the way up it. We're doing the part of the canyon, it goes from Sierra Point Road up to Humboldt. We're doing the part from Humboldt up,
Ah, got it.
which is, when we were growing up, it was a beautiful canyon, but now it's completely overrun with ivy. It was one of the canyons that got scoured in the the big flood when the mountain slid, in 1980, early 80s.
I
And
heard about that, yeah.
so we're gonna tackle that. We were gonna do some work along the Crocker Trail, but that was a little up in the air with that frog habitat area. So really excited about that. Please invite your friends. There's plenty of ivy to go around. And that's from 9:30 to 12:30.
I wanted to throw in that we asked at the library groundbreaking that they announce our event at the end of theirs,
Excellent.
What time is the groundbreaking?
10 o'clock.
Um,
So
And
they
it's
think
gonna
it'll
last
be over
maybe-
before 11, so
Okay.
maybe we'll get some extra people.
Yeah, and that's a day where there's not good places to park there. So, walking is good, getting dropped off is good. Wear long sleeves and long pants, even though it's summertime. But the canyon should be pretty cool. And what else was going to say? Oh, and before that date, I'm going to get those addresses we talked about of people in the neighborhood that have trees on their property that are being inundated with ivy, so that we can send them a note, or about that, and perhaps they can put their ivy cuttings into our dumpster that day if they want to do their own trees.
No, just drive by my house then.
Do you have trees that have ivy going up?
I have a buckeye that's completely covered in ivy.
Yeah, that's gonna kill it. Yeah.
Well, we actually thought it was dead because this is the first year that it's ever had leaves on it since I've owned the house. So
Yeah.
now that I know it's not dead, I need to remove the ivy.
If you can at least get the ivy off the tree. That's how we started with saving castaños. It was getting the ivy off the trees first.
Absolutely. There's a lot of houses on Kings that
I
are
know.
similar. So.
Yeah, so if you have any addresses of where you see houses with, heritage trees like, the buckeyes and the oaks and the bay trees with the ivy on it, could you send me the addresses? Because we're going to write a letter and just let people know. And, so then I also went and for a day in the park, I did go and speak to the Park and Recreation Commission about our concerns with being on the pavement again, where we're separated as day next to the park instead of day in the park. So I just wanted to report out, but mostly I did remind Kevin that the entire committee had mentioned that when he visited about the signboard, but mostly I spoke about how I felt since I was there as an individual, as not necessarily as an official representative of OSEC.
Did they have any comments back?
Not while I was there, and I haven't watched the tape of the rest of the meeting, but it is, I guess, under discussion. So, I'd like to know soon so that we can plan, because if we are going to be back on the lawn, then we can plan some better activities for interaction with children and people and that type of thing than what we can do on the street, or what is effective.
Okay.
That's it. For that one.
Well, and just quickly for education outreach, because I know Glenn's, our last meeting before I went off the committee was actually with getting the kids involved and maybe doing some costumes and having them do something, you know, and have fun with the kids at Silver Spot. I haven't gotten, the gal has not ever called me back, and I didn't follow up with her, but I mean, that's all kind of part of that. So if we're in Day in the Park, then it makes sense for us to go forward. But if we're out there on the street, we're going to be out there on the street by ourselves again.
Yeah, so it really affects our planning on what we're going to do or what we're going to put forth as an activities and for Day in the Park.
Well, yeah, and you could think about activities that would draw people over. I understood the piñata was great and got a lot of people
When
over.
we did the piñata, we were on the lawn.
Yeah, we don't want kids scrabbling on the asphalt.
Yeah, it was the kids.
It-
were all-
People just
Yeah.
aren't really interested in standing there and talking to you on standing in the hot asphalt and not in the, where they're not,
Yeah.
don't even have any shade.
What was the reasoning behind us not being able to be in the park again?
It was just an improvement.
Ah, okay.
Don't bite your tongue while it's in your cheek. It was to shake it up and make things different and kind of expand it. And they've done it for 2 years in 2 different configurations, and
This one
neither
was the worst.
have them
No,
were.
no, not to do it again.
Well, the first
Well,
year was
no.
okay. The second year was horrible. I mean, it was Barbara and I sat there going, "Hi, how are you? What's your day like?" Mine's good. That was the two of us.
Yeah.
Gregory. No,
So
we
anyway,
didn't get to see Michelle. I was we know.
I did. So I brought it up. I just wanted to let you all
Thank
know.
you.
And so if you have any feelings or things that you want to express to the committee, please do so.
And I just wanted to, last month when James was here speaking about home intel, we had also tossed out the idea of having
James
that-
yeah.
James
yeah, I
come with his
saw-
Dr. Power outfit
And he's
or
going to come and
something
I
around
mean,
that.
it would be interesting, but again, he's going to be sitting out there a little hot. He better be inside. But I watched it, so it was very cute. You know, I thought that
So,
would be fun. So I'm
Booth
glad he put it on his
location notwithstanding, we should
Yeah.
probably
follow up with him either which way.
follow up with him and schedule a meeting
Yeah.
for discussing what exactly we'll have at our
Whichever.
booth, wherever the location.
Exactly. I thought that was great. I was
Do
so
you-
glad you asked that, Michelle.
Do
for
you,
him to-
do you want to schedule that?
Yeah, it probably maybe after the Habitat Day.
Okay.
The later half of July, we could
Okay, let's
get
do
something
that.
on the calendar for then and get started.
And how many of us signed up? I know Ross signed up that day.
Well, the events subcommittee has.
I don't know, she's talking about
Talking about
Signed up for the home intel.
supposedly there.
Oh, I was going to talk about that during staff updates,
I
but
did.
not very many.
I went online and I looked and I wasn't able to find it. It was weird.
I can't. I have solar.
I
Okay,
tried.
you get a
Saving it
pass,
for
Barbara.
Joe.
I will look again, but I did because as I was watching it, I was like, "Ooh."
Brisbane.hea.com, and I actually there was a little delay in getting the video up, but we'll be getting the video up, and was in touch with Ann from MCTV today, so they're going to be running his presentation on MCTV actually tonight, right after our meeting. I need to
Awesome.
let Ann know when
It
our
was
meeting's
good.
over, and then it'll be running a few more times over the next week and a few times throughout July. So it'll be up there, and we'll start to put some more promotions out on our social media and whatnot as well.
That
Oh,
was
I will
very
say it was easier
knowledgeable.
to go to PG&E first, and
Well, I went to PG&E first, and then I wasn't
You've
able.
enabled
Then I
the
kind of got stuck, but I think I got stuck on PG&E because then I started looking and I was doing all the.
Yeah.
I was having fun though. I was like, oh, and I was like, oh, I can see. Anyway.
yeah, I went to PG&E first and then went back to home intel.
Okay.
So
Well, I mean, it does work. So.
yeah,
And you went to PG&E first, or did you go to Home and Tell?
No, I just went in home intel and logged
Okay.
in with my PG&E.
All right.
I mean, if they want to pay my power bill for me, then let them do it.
All right.
Know what anyone else will be able to do with my.
I tried to do it the other way, and anyway, excellent. So,
uh,
anything for education outreach?
Just want to say that library shelf hasn't been changed the library corner hasn't been
3
changed for a
months,
long
4
time.
months.
Well, maybe we could put Home Intel's display on the library.
Well, I was
Sure.
looking at that, and I'm not on the committee anymore, but I was thinking about also when we were talking about, again, with Glenn and I, when we met, and having a video kind of here at City Hall running, maybe we could do that same type of thing, because I think kids would be more interested in seeing a video sometimes, instead of just, I mean, the wall was great, and we had a lot of fun changing it out and everything, but maybe actually doing a video with some of the, whether it be the sea level rise or the story of stuff. That's just a great thing with the stick figures, and the kids will have fun kind of watching it, because I think it's really getting the younger generation involved. So it was just a thought I was having when we were looking at the library shelf.
Invasive species ordinance.
So we did have an education and
we
outreach
did have a
subcommittee.
meeting.
Do any of the
I
folks
was
who
gonna
were there
say, I
want to
was
share
waiting to
anything
have
from
it.
that?
Mary?
Yeah, so,
There?
Claire, myself,
I know Glenn's not here, but
so we met on, I think, Monday morning and talked about different ideas that we could get the kids up at the school excited about saving the environment, et cetera, et cetera. We talked about possibly having and please jump in if I'm misrepresenting, but we talked about a t-shirt contest, designing a t-shirt for Earth Day to get the kids involved in like recycling or saving energy, anything along those lines. And then the winners would be decided and we would give them some t-shirts. Anything that would entice the kids to get interested and participate, is going to involve some type of contest and prizes. And so we had some discussions around that. We had some discussions around maybe beefing up the library shelf and maybe redoing, adding more content there for the kids. And I'm drawing a blank. I didn't bring my notes.
I have a question. Do we have budget for Day in the Park? Because you just
Yeah.
gave me a really good
Oh,
idea
okay.
of you can get fabric markers and maybe some white
Oh.
T-shirts and
Yeah.
have kids do their shirt at Day in the Park.
Yeah, design, and we can put them on display. I think we can go to the dollar store and, they have t-shirts there.
Yeah.
it's not going to be expensive.
And you could,
Yeah.
fabric markers, they're
They're a little
not-
bit expensive, but
they're
you
not
know,
bad.
They
They're
don't
not
get
bad.
abused. We can use them again.
Yeah. It'd be kind of cool to have kids do their shirts right there and as an activity.
Just, an activity versus
Yeah, an activity,
contest.
not,
Right.
not the, Earth Day contest.
Yeah, there's
But it's a warm up and then
Yes, it is.
it's a warm up for the
Yes,
Earth Day
yes,
contest.
yes.
And it enables us to do a kind of trial run,
Mhm.
see how it works, and then for the contest.
Or if we were able to get our hands on really cheap tote bags, they could design that and use that as a grocery bag or something.
The other thing that'd be really cool is they could do flags,
Oh, yeah.
and then we can hang all the flags. Kind of like Tibetan prayer flags, and have them color that day. We could just get white handkerchiefs or white squares of fabric, and have them color. With the fabric markers, color their flags, and then we can, hang the flags up
And what would they color the flags? Would it be like
with fabric markers and do environmental.
design, environmental?
Environmental designs, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I like that better than the t-shirts because then it's something that kind of like we can have as a permanent thing to show.
Yeah. And we
Yeah, I
could
don't know
either-
if everybody needs another T-shirt.
I
Yeah, really.
Uh,
If they want a T-shirt, they can come pull Ivy.
know. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, but I
But,
like that.
I mean,
like that
but
idea,
that
though.
would be a good warm
Yeah.
up too for Earth Day to see
Yes.
whether whether there's interest in,
Right.
you know.
So the idea of design and a contest, I brought because San Francisco was having something for kids, designing, I don't know if it was a poster, yeah, that was a sustainability or Earth Day kind of message. And there were prizes, and if they have a teacher help them, the teacher would also get a prize too. That's
Yeah.
used in their
Nice.
school.
That's a good incentive because we need something to help our schools get involved.
Right, money. But I didn't imagine that that would be something you could do outside of a booth at at a day in the park event. It was something that kids might take more time on. Really artistic kids would have their best effort. If you just wanted to have an activity where people drew, that's cool, but I don't think you would combine it with a contest when they have such a short amount of time
Artists.
and
Yeah.
attention span
Yeah.
passing through the
Yeah.
booth.
And attention span, yeah.
Yeah.
But
You can
yeah,
have
there's
two
a-
separate,
But I do still like the
Events.
flag idea.
I do,
Yeah.
I like
For
that a
both,
lot.
I mean.
I like that a lot.
Plus
And then
squares
being-
of fabric are cheaper than t-shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can do a few of, a pile of each and people can make whatever they want.
True.
I'm willing to buy some stuff, and make some stuff or whatever.
Oh, we have
And
the budget.
we
for
have some budget for special projects, so.
It'd be just really cool, because then we could have a string that we hang them up right then and
Yeah.
there and just
And if
string
it
'em
is a
across
t-shirt, we
the
could hang those
park,
up too if they wanted.
you know. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, would they be more motivated by something that they could take away? I wonder.
Yeah, I mean, I think so, but maybe we could take pictures of things, and then do some.
I think they'd be pretty motivated to have their flag hang, and then we display it again on Earth Day.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
That'd be,
I
I
think
think
the
that's
flag.
kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm not against it. I just thought some kids might want to take away bags or make their mom a bag or, have a T-shirt.
Yeah.
I just thought options would be nice, but I do think the flags would be a good primary focus.
Flags and bags.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Great. Anything else for education outreach? Okay,
Sustainability webpage.
let's move
We
on.
talked about the website, cleaning
Oh.
that up, and then just being more crisp with the links and making sure they work. And what else? We also talked about the possibility of maybe taking out like a permanent column in like the Star, or what's the other paper? I always forget the other one.
Luminary.
Yeah, the Luminary.
Yeah, or like in email updates, adding maybe
Yes.
like a meatless Monday. type
Yes,
recipe
that's
to
right.
that.
Yeah, Meatless Monday. Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So we came up with a few ideas.
I like that.
Yeah.
Meatless Monday.
Yeah. Anything missing or?
That's excellent.
I was just looking back at my notes. I think you've covered the highlights. There were a few other random ideas that I had written down, but I'm not sure I understand fully all of my notes.
Okay.
You hit the big ones that we, I think, spent the most time on.
That's it?
Okay, invasive species ordinance. Anything we've done?
We have not met.
Nope.
Let's do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bob's taking the lead on that, and I think at this point he is looking at what other jurisdictions
Good.
have. And I think this was one of the maybe it ought to be a law ideas that later in the year we'll.
Yeah, and we met with, when we went to the open space conference, we met
Right.
with the Invasive Species Council, so, I mean, we met them, and so I'm sure he's reaching out to them.
So that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that. All right, and then festival tree replacement options with Park and Rec, which we have not met with in a while.
No. That
We-
needs to- that-
We need to make that field trip.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we do need to make that field trip.
Yeah.
We'll tell you about it, Ross.
okay, I'll make it happen.
So, should we reach out to them just to touch base about having another meeting? It's been a while.
I think we should just go find some recommended species
And then come back
and
with
then
it.
come back with it.
Yeah, because we have a couple of locations and the plus and minuses for each.
Yeah.
So what we need is a tree at this point. So.
Yeah, I have someone we can talk to about that. He's, old college roommate of mine, and he's over here quite often.
Awesome.
That's what he does for a living, is tree management for large.
Perfect.
Um,
So you'll kind of show him, sorry,
Yeah.
you can show him the tree that we have,
yeah, he's already been through there.
and then show him
and
kind of,
seen it,
did
yeah.
you, and you know where we were thinking about putting
Mhm.
it? Okay, I wanted to make sure, because I don't, you.
So I think when we get ready to meet, we might want to come up with some dates and then maybe see if Will can meet us. And he
Awesome.
can walk us
That'd be
through that.
good.
Would love that.
Yeah.
Great, thanks, Ross.
Perfect.
All right, and then Littman Science Fair Judging, I know that's not coming up till February, and I think we're gonna make sure that you know,
January.
or January, you're gonna know way ahead of time what the date is, and making sure we're all, because, it was kind of a secret last year.
Yeah.
PCA grant application, I know we're meeting this week, next week? Are we meeting?
July.
July, sorry. I knew I had it on my calendar, I just couldn't remember when. So we'll come back with that. Adrian's been great in giving us updates and making sure she's on top of that. 280 South Hill funds, I know that you just,
Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing, but I do remember at the first or second meeting, I understood there were some funds for two different areas where we would refurbish. But then we started talking about the quarry and the trees dying because of the ivy issue.
Mhm.
And we kind of threw out what area is the most critical to clean up, and if we could reallocate those funds to the quarry road if need be. So we were gonna check into that. And I can't even remember the two areas that were on the list for cleanup.
So the two areas from the prior meetings when Kima was filling this role was to do some rehabilitation on the Firth Canyon Trail,
Okay.
and then on the Crocker Trail to, so I wasn't at the meeting, so I don't know exactly what the concept is, but was to
Yeah.
put money into kind of beautifying it, making it more attractive and more of a destination. And I can't tell you that what parts
Yeah.
those funds would pay for, but that's maybe we can ask for another meeting to kind of go.
Yeah,
over
but it
that
kind of
and
sounded like
that.
with the way Glenn was, remember we had the discussion that quarry's a mess and the trees are all dying and we need to do something, need to do something pretty quickly. And so if we had the flexibility of reallocating those funds to that project, maybe that's something we should consider.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what the rules are behind the funding of that 280 South Hill, so I don't know if we even have the flexibility to reallocate, so.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be, I'm not even sure myself. So there's an assigned representative from OSEC and an assigned representative from the Park and Rec Commission that met with staff. And like I said, I wasn't part of that. We just chose someone and they did that. Park and Rec is leading that in terms of how to spend those funds. And those were the two projects that were agreed upon. So, yeah, I can pass back that OSEC is interested in Quarry Road if that's where we think we are. On our end, we are going to be able to cut the ivy from the trees. So in some cases, depending on the type of tree, you just want to cut the ivy and you don't want to pull it if it's going to pull all the bark off the tree. So we can remove the ivy from the trees, but the request had been about planting some other trees up there. And there's also a lot of ivy growing besides just on the trees. And all of that is a lot more resources, because when you plant trees up there, you need to establish them and you need to water them.
On Quarry Road.
Yeah. And so we're trying to see if we do have funding to do that. You know, the buildings and grounds, well, maybe we can fit it into our schedule, and then it's, well, what else are you not gonna be doing, you know? Is it funds out of your operating funds, or is it staff time that isn't being done to maintain something else? So
Yeah.
we haven't resolved that because,
Well, if we
Not
can
a
somehow
small
manage
ask.
all three projects, that would be great.
Mhm.
But if we were limited, I would probably opt for the area that's in worst shape.
What were the other two projects?
so the Firth Canyon Trail to, just part of it is refurbishing where it's steep and it's dirt and actually putting nice steps there. And the idea is if that's gonna be a trail that we open and put a couple trail markers on and put on maps, that it be made a little bit nicer in the lower area where it drains, that people aren't walking across the drainage path or parts that erode, that's kind of improved a little bit.
And the other project was
Was Crocker Trail and beautifying Crocker Trail, and again, I don't know specifically what things that included, but it was to make Crocker Trail more of a destination.
yeah, Crocker Trail, Lori Graham and I met with Cliff and Clay and Randy because we'd really like to, clean out the invasives and open up the creeks and everything. That's a lot of work, and it would be money, but it's a very important riparian corridor and frog habitat, and so those both have all three projects have a lot of merit.
Yeah. So the,
Just depends on what the cost is of
Yeah.
each project. I mean, Firth Canyon is really in pretty good shape. It from the work that was done already.
Yes, this
Crocker-
was focused on the trail.
I know.
Right.
And I've been up the trail and it was not bad. And putting stairs in, I'm not sure what you would do for stairs because they would not hold up unless you really did a lot of engineering, and that's really kind of not in the spirit of the canyon. I'm not sure what you would do for stairs. It's a trail. What were they thinking? To
You couldn't put rock stairs or whatever, like made out of rock?
You have to be careful, make sure it's not gonna be slippery when it's wet. Rock stairs tend to have problems with that.
yeah, I think anything you do official there is
It's a
going
liability.
to have to be over-engineered for safety. And so I think it's a potential kind of can of worms.
Do we know what they were thinking?
They was Kima, and
They
it
was.
They, schema, yeah.
What was he
to
thinking?
improve that, he particularly wanted that area that's just the dirt steps to be made more permanent, which I
Well,
guess
and
probably
permanent, probably safe, because it's
And-
not that
yeah.
safe.
safe, definitely.
Safety is probably a big,
That would be a civil engineering project, though. They gotta make sure that it's not gonna wash out or
yeah.
have
So it-
traction issues.
Pretty involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't even think that the amount of money we have, if it has to be engineered, would even cover it.
Well, we have 250,000.
Yeah, I know.
that would
And
cover it.
and have you hiked up that trail? Yeah.
Yeah,
It-
we hiked.
Nice.
To
I like that
engineer
too.
it the way that the city would have to do if the city was doing it to make it safe would eat that up in a heartbeat. I sat through the budget meeting on all the projects, and I was shocked at the cost of even doing the walkways between San Benito and Alvarado Street.
Yeah, we wouldn't pave or rock or DG all of it, just spots that could erode.
Right, but if you don't do the underpinnings, then what you built is
No.
gonna erode.
Right, well, there's ways to do it, but yeah, it would cost money and take some effort. Fortunately, because there's so much rock, it's fairly easy to anchor. Usually what they'll do if they're trying to build steps like that that are permanent, it'll be a wooden step that sort of holds in the dirt, and then it's anchored with steel rods that go into the hillside.
Right.
And it's fairly easy in that area to anchor that. It's still a lot of work, but it is possible.
Yeah.
But it would have to, from a liability standpoint, I'm sure it would have to be done professionally.
So,
yeah, so that's, I guess just understanding the budget, understanding what the priority is.
and where we can get the most bang for our
Yeah,
buck.
exactly, right. And then thinking about the vegetation management company, On Point. They come back every year, it sounds like, and they do a lot of cleanup for us and managing the acres. Would they give us a deal on them coming in and cleaning out Quarry Road? We should leverage that relationship.
You know, I don't think we think of it as doing them a favor because they have a specialized knowledge that,
Okay.
I mean, we prefer being able to hire them and
Well, yeah, I mean,
them
yeah,
more as a consultant than a contractor because
okay,
so that they're not damaging
yeah,
their plants.
yeah.
And they
But
are,
it sounds like we probably need somebody like that to clean it up if you want to, if you don't want to disturb the bark on the trees. So, I don't know.
well, so we're talking about, we can just cut the ivy and
Yeah.
what you said, girdle the tree and cut the ivy.
Not girdle the tree, girdle the ivy.
Yeah, the
Girdle
ivy is
girdle
girdle.
ivy at the base of the tree
Okay,
and cut the ivy and it'll die and fall off. You
okay,
have to yank it out. So that can be done within the operating budget we have.
okay,
But the ivy's still growing beyond that
Mhm.
area that you've cleared of the trees, and it's gonna come back in time. It's not a long-term solution, but it'll help save the trees
yeah, okay,
that are being choked out by the ivy.
okay.
Yeah, it's really a short-term solution.
You need to, in order to have a long-term solution, you need to actually clear the ivy
Right.
before you really consider planting anything new,
Right.
because young trees are especially susceptible.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw that in Sam Tell Lane.
And so what's the time frame for making decisions and getting the work done in these areas? For the 280 South Hill project, yeah.
So the funds are there
Okay.
until they're spent, and at that meeting, we understood that we were supposed to see what it would take to do Firth Canyon, and then those representatives of those committees had agreed that the rest could be put towards the Crocker Trail.
Okay,
So funds aren't going anywhere until those two things get done.
okay.
So is this in addition to the grant that was already put into Crocker?
Yes.
Okay.
That
And-
grant was for paving the
Yeah.
trail, not
Yeah,
for
the
any
decomposed
habitat
granite.
work or any
Okay.
creek restoration or any invasive species removal or anything.
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we're not spending the funds on the
Right.
Over.
decomposed granite, because that's like not exciting to me. I was hoping we wouldn't anyway. We're not doing that.
No.
I mean, it's grand and all, but
So I'll talk with staff about that and whether it makes sense to have another meeting and talk about looking at Quarry Road.
And you might have Randy just take a little hike up Firth Canyon and give his
2 cents.
opinion. Oh, yeah, we
I
can
can
do
do
this for $500,000.
Not that opinion, that's the wrong answer.
Right.
Okay, so we're
Alright.
good with the South Hill funds? Signboard replacement with Parks and Rec, we'll let Mr. Ross talk about that.
Yes, so that meeting was today, which means I probably still remember most of it. I had a chance to chat with Parks and Rec about it. They had already kind of looked at some options for signage based on what other communities have been doing in Las Vegas. Combination of LCD signs, bright LED signs. But we're, based on community feedback and based on hopefully common sense, they didn't think that those would really fit with what the community wanted. A lot of the feedback that, at least I read in the report from the community, was they liked what we have now because it's unobtrusive. So I had suggested we look into something called e-ink technology, which is a sign technology it's passive, it's not emissive, so it just looks like paper, and usually monochromatic. This might fit in with one of their other not requirements, but goals, which would be for this to either not consume much of any power or be solar powered. And so most display technologies just would consume too much energy, really be able to be powered via solar installation attached to the roof of the shelter for the sign. So we're currently we're currently doing two things. Park and Rec is going to get a list of requirements that we can use at the next meeting to actually, come up with an established plan. And then we're also going to be researching some technologies. I've already reached out to one of the e-ink sign providers. They make signs for train stations in Europe using this technology. So we're going to see if we can come up with some options At the moment, it looks like if you factor in staff time, it costs something like $8,000 to $20,000 a year to print and manage the existing signs. There's a thermal printer, there's staff time, there's the consumables. Apparently, there's the fact that the printer breaks all the time. And so there's probably a reasonable budget that they'd be able to come up with for exploring this.
Thank you, Ross. The e-ink
E-ink.
print technologies sounds like the best thing I've heard since this subject came up.
Right. Do you remember? So remember the original Kindle?
Yes,
That
yes,
just
I have one. I read
white
on
display?
it.
That's what that
Awesome.
technology is. It
Yeah.
doesn't use any power when it's just sitting there showing you what it is. It only uses
Yeah.
power when it's switching. And so they'd probably be able to come up with something that would enable them to power it with solar, communicate with it wirelessly, and only tell it to change when they wanted it to.
Nice.
Yeah, it's amazing. My old Kindle can go a whole month on a charge.
Oh, yeah.
And my new Kindle Fire that I got as a Christmas gift, I got to charge it like every 2 days, every 3
Oh, yeah.
days.
No, I have the same problem.
And I don't read that much. I mean, I read a lot, but I don't use all the other.
Yeah.
So it really, I love that. Thank you for.
Yeah, so we're hopefully in the next few weeks we'll get a chance to collate some of that data and come up with some a list of requirements and some pricing comparisons.
Thank you.
Option.
Yeah, we kind of looked at that a little bit in our climate action plan too, didn't we? The e-ink. I remember Googling.
Right, things that don't take
E-ink
power when they're
signboards,
just
yeah.
sitting there showing things. So I think that's probably a good
Yeah.
path to go down.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Liaison for tree ordinance. Barbara, you have anything to?
No, I was waiting to hear from staff about when they were ready to talk about it.
I don't have a when, but I know that the planning intern is working on this, and they got a little bit of background information from me, and they are expecting to meet. I would guess it's going to be in July.
Okay.
Excellent. All right. Next is staff updates. Oh, we have calendar. I forgot that. Missed the calendar item.
I guess
Sorry about that.
we've kind of covered what's on this month.
June, July,
Looking forward.
August.
Oh, look, Habitat Day on the 14th.
Woohoo.
Everybody mark that on your calendars.
It is.
On mine.
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Michelle, during the opening stuff or oral communications, you didn't tell us about the pancake breakfast coming up.
Oh, God. September 9th. Can we put that on the calendar? Sunday, September 9th is Mountain Watch's Pancake Breakfast and Plant Sale. Very important to support our local plant growing, nonprofit mountain group.
Mm-hmm.
September 9th.
Yep. Nice.
There it is.
Anybody have any chair and committee member matters this month? that
I was just curious, I guess Bob will report, but how are we doing on the site for coastal cleanup?
I think we're good. I think we're gonna, I think he's got it set up to keep people safe and putting together a plan to shuttle people over there so they don't drive, and I don't know if you need to have a subcommittee meeting since he's not here to give you the details, but it's looking like we're gonna be able to do the actual shoreline.
Oh my God, that would
In
be
the north.
so exciting.
Yeah. I'll let him update you on the
Okay.
details.
Now we're.
All right, now we're at staff updates.
Can I just really compliment Bob? I know he's not here, but his, did you skip by his his poster that was in the? Oh, okay. Really, really nice work on the,
Yeah.
poster for the Habitat, Restoration Volunteer Day.
I really like it.
Yeah, when I saw that, I said he has
Really
a real
cool.
gift
With the
for
ivy.
graphic
Yeah,
design.
I just love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Staff.
A couple of things that I had, we've already talked about. The last one was about signage for EV charging stations. And this sign did go up on the marquee for the Brisbane Village.
Excellent.
And we had you had asked about, signs somewhere else that identify the one at the marina. And I don't know, I was thinking a good move might be that I will do a request from Caltrans, because really you'd want people on the freeway to see that sign. I wonder if they're doing that like gas stations. You know, those are Caltrans signs on highways.
Oh yeah, that was something that came up in the CAP meeting as well.
Yeah. So
Oh, yeah.
I'll put in a request and
Yeah.
See how far we get.
Why
how
not?
that
Worst they
goes.
can say is no.
Yep.
So that's all I had, and Julia, do you want to do, I know you mentioned a couple things, but do you want to give any more detail about what you're working on? Adrian's catching up, so she asked us to go first.
No real updates, just Adrian and I have been working on the green business certification for City Hall, so we have just a checklist we're going through, and we talked to someone who works there and just talked about specifics. So we're going through that, and today we went to South San Francisco Scavenger to film stuff for the educational video on waste sorting.
Awesome.
So
Cool. Did you get to be in it, Julia? Sorting waste?
yeah, and I think I might dress up as Mother Earth or some type of character. So
For what? For a
Awesome.
day in the park or for the,
no, for the video.
for the
yeah.
video?
Love it.
We've
We
been
like
having a
that.
lot of fun with that. I
Okay.
think you guys are gonna like them.
Okay.
Okay, so I am caught up now. Thank you. So my first update, a very exciting bit of news, is that we were notified about the Air District Climate Protection Grant, and we have tentatively been awarded. We still have to go through creating a scope of work and a contract with them, so it is not necessarily a done deal, but that was very exciting. And so if that does all work out as we go through that contracting process, we'd be kicking off a pretty big project on a 2-year project on comprehensive commercial energy program. So very exciting. We also, as Barbara mentioned earlier, talked about a CAP update, and so we have heard back from DNVGL. Those are the consultants through the RICAPS program, and they have us on the list to provide full assistance, full technical assistance. So that will also be getting started. I'm waiting to get a schedule of work from them, but that's something that will also be kicking off pretty soon. What's that? Yeah, that would be the climate action plan that would set a 2030 goal. So kind of work beyond our existing CAP, which just goes out to 2020, not so far away anymore. So setting new goals and coming up with some measures to figure out how to achieve reductions that will meet the state's targets,
2030.
probably aligning with all of that for 2030. We also have had some revisions to our community greenhouse gas inventory. So that I'll share kind of more detail with the CAP subcommittee, but there were a number of things that we were working through on that, and they have all been kind of settled and addressed, and I think you'll be happy to see how that has changed. Home intel, we actually saw James again at the RICAPS meeting yesterday, and so he gave us a little update. We have only had 5 people in Brisbane sign up so far.
No.
So he only had
We need
one
100,
committee
right?
member, he thought, on his
I signed up.
list. Yeah.
I signed up.
Too. Maybe
Did
it didn't
he
go
come-
through yet.
Did he actually show up and do the assessment yet?
No, he said this is just signing up through the
Oh,
website.
okay.
So you've got to go through the full sign up process, you know, actually getting in, logged in. You So you went through all of the steps in the program, and is your account in your name?
Yeah. And I get emails from them. I haven't looked at the emails because I've been really busy, but I get emails from them.
Okay, well, if you're getting the emails, then you must be one of the 5. So,
Yeah.
two of you. Hopefully, a couple more can get signed up.
Well, she's exempt.
Maybe you're.
Can't, so one,
Yes,
two,
I
three,
know.
four,
I
five.
already said Barbara gets a pass as
So-
already
so
having
the
solar,
rest
but
of us do, that'll
have to
be
do it.
8.
but you can share what you have found or anything that you have learned on social media or however you can be
Okay.
encouraging. Hopefully, you can all help us be ambassadors for that as you learn some things through the process and get signed up yourself if you haven't yet. Hopefully, by next month, we'll have more than 5 to
I learned
report.
one thing.
What's that?
Lowe's definitely doesn't have smart strips, and they had no freaking idea what I was doing.
No, you gotta get it from Amazon.
Oh, really? Yeah,
Most
because
of
I was
them
going
don't.
to say, should we have Billy get them, or does it just not really make sense to have it at our local hardware store?
Oh, I think Billy should get them.
You could check with Billy. I mean, he could at least buy a couple of them.
I mean,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
may not want to
can I get a
supply, but
can
Oh.
can
you can get it cheap.
Dr. Power make a recommendation on which
Which,
brands or
which,
anything
where,
like that?
who, when?
I don't know if that would be something that he would really be able to provide a specific recommendation
I
on.
think he wasn't.
No,
when I
he did.
listened
Well,
to
when
the
he
meeting.
came over to my place, he actually did show me some examples, and I bought one. I don't remember the brand. Well, I can find it actually right now.
I would guess that's probably
show
he
me
would have to be kind of brand agnostic to some degree,
He-
but
He showed up some. He
yeah.
basically showed some examples and said, "Okay, but you can go on Amazon and find some of these." The brand he showed me, and the one I just bought it. Smart Strip. Let's see if I can find it.
Billy, if you like find something online and take it down to the hardware store and shove it at Billy, he will order it for you. You
Trickle
know.
Star.
Trickle
And
Star?
then you don't have to pay shipping. So
Yeah, it might be worth seeing if we can get him to stock a couple of them, and so first come, first
I
serve.
would think so, especially if we have him come to the day in the park, that we want to have that available at that time.
and what happened to the toolbox again?
It's in the library.
No, the one
the
I
first
did,
one.
The first one.
Kima had it the last time.
Kima has
You
it?
have it.
Yes. Yeah, he brought it back.
Okay.
Oh, okay, good.
And
Awesome.
Adrian and I are using the kilowatt meter for our own home intel.
well, I haven't used it yet. It's been sitting on my counter.
Oh, actually, well, I've got the one I borrowed from what's his name?
Kima?
No. How would-
James?
Home and
James, Home Intel. I still have his. So I should have I can actually just give it to you and you can use it and you can get back to him when you do your assessment.
Well, I already have one at my house.
Oh, perfect.
I have the one from the toolkit that
Ah.
Karen used and,
Well, I
and
can
then passed
tell
on.
you what,
to me, so.
I'll give it to one of the other
Yeah.
committee members and they can use it and they can get it back to Jay.
There you go.
I already ran around and found how much power was being used for this, that, and the other.
The library has them for checkout as well.
Yep.
Nice.
That's where I got mine years ago.
So we've already mentioned Home Intel videos are going to be up on MCTV beginning tonight. Last week I was up in Sacramento at a statewide energy efficiency conference. I was actually very impressed with the content there. It's specifically geared to local government staff. And so the presentations were really excellent. I made some great contacts with a couple of very interesting youth educational programs that were speaking at one breakout session. So I'd like to investigate whether there's anything there since that kind of idea has come up. And then for some of our building energy work, also got some great contacts who have worked on building benchmarking programs all around the country. So it was a really valuable couple of days up in Sacramento. And then yesterday at the RICAPS meeting, we had a meeting at Peninsula Clean Energy. So they talked about a couple of programs that they are launching. They have some pilot program grants that they have just announced that are open right now. They also have an EV program called Easy Charge Apartments. So they're trying to work with apartment owners to kind of figure out some of the hurdles to adding EV charging stations at apartments.
Good.
They are going to be hosting some community ride and drive events over the next few months. Apparently, those are one of the most effective ways to, get people really interested in electric vehicles is
Yeah.
actually getting them into one and trying it out. So there may be a few of those, and when we hear about them, we'll certainly share that information out. They are also working on an EV purchase or lease promotion program. So it sounds like it'd be a kind of similar to SunShares, where it'd be kind of a bulk buy type of program to get some reduced pricing. And also, I thought this was a really interesting one, a low income vehicle purchase program. So would be buying used hybrid or electric vehicles and helping to kind of facilitate financing and perhaps some purchasing for low income residents to be able to access some of those cleaner vehicles. So they have some really interesting stuff going, and then they were also asking us to help them brainstorm other programs that they should be thinking about for the coming years. So we had a little brainstorming exercise on load shaping, building electrification, transportation electrification, and distributed energy resources. And there were a lot of great suggestions that, collectively RICAPS members threw out. So feel pretty good that PCE will probably have some very exciting programs rolling out in the next couple of years. There was also a mention of SunShares at the meeting, so that is actually, sounds like we'll be launching on August 1st, so we should be hearing some more about that soon as well, and we are already signed up as an outreach partner again.
Awesome. Thank you.
I think that does it.
All right. And then I guess we're going to be voting on the meeting being on the 3rd Wednesday instead of the 4th,
Yes,
which we're starting this next one. Is that the 3rd?
That's the idea.
that was the idea, yep.
It works for me. Do we need to?
I don't care to vote because either one's absolutely fine with me.
Doesn't really matter to me.
So nobody had said there was a problem as long as we planned it far enough ahead, but your bylaws actually said you had to vote.
So we
Oh, I move that we
Okay.
change to the 3rd Wednesday instead of the 4th Wednesday for our monthly meeting.
Second.
All right. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
All right. No nays. I guess we've moved it. Thank you.
I guarantee you
Let
everyone's going
us
to have a conflict
adjourn.
next month then.
And so, perfect. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right.
Second,
I'll second.
beach to it.
Well, there we go then. I think we're ready to adjourn. Are we doing a committee photo? We didn't end up doing it last
We
time.
did it last year?
I know 2 of us weren't here.
Oh.
We might just try to get the 2 of you that weren't here last time and see if we can Photoshop them together, because now we're missing Glenn. We left it on there in case we had all 7 of you, we could just do one.
Dang.
So we might try the other 2 and see if we can work that out in Photoshop.
How did it turn out?
I mean, it was fine. Did you? I had photos where everybody was smiling and eyes open. So
Hey,
if
that's
you
all
want,
that
if you
matters.
want to like check your hair or something, you'll have to tell me what you think.
No.
Can't tell you.
So.
Thanks.
Yeah.